Hello and welcome to my podcast, Become. My name is Sabine Kvenberg and I am your host. The content will inspire you to reach your aspirations and become the best version of yourself. I feature interviews with successful individuals from various industries delving into their personal and professional journey, how they overcame adversities and the strategies they used to achieve their goals. We have to become the person we are meant to be first, so we can live the life we are destined to live. That also means we must overcome challenges and work through difficult times to learn, grow, and become the next, more fabulous version of ourselves. I'm so glad that you're here. Let's get on this journey together. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so excited about my guest today, Colin Kingsmill. I mean, Colin, when I read your bio and your profile, you are a world traveler and you came from banking and then you went into marketing and you met all those famous people like the Clintons and Elton John and, hang out with George Clooney. I mean, I have a lot of questions for you. But before we get started, why don't you give a short introduction of yourself to our audience, who you are and what you do?
Yeah, sure, of course. So, what I do today is quite different than what I've done for most of my life. So I have a private coaching business where I work with CEOs and entrepreneurs and founders, and then I work with some colleagues of mine where we co-founded something called Whole Human Coaching, which is really about team coaching and leadership coaching and really creating kind of cultural cohesion within organizations that I think need it after the last few years of sort of incredible change and shift in values. And so I do coaching on those two fronts. I love to podcast and have these kinds of conversations. And I'm also writing a book called Fear Less. It's really a guide to kind of go from fear into blissful living. But I got to this point through like you say, a lot of travel, a lot of just really
experiences,
kind of saying,
right?
Yeah, exactly, around the world. So
and that's what I love about the guests that I have on the show. It's not a straight line. Where we end up can be through so many different corners and adventures and side roads and divergence. And the most important part is what I love for my audience to hear about is it's not about where we are now, but it's about the journey, how we got there. And as you self-mentioned, you had a lot of fallen downs and getting back up. And that's what this podcast is all about. We have to become the person we are meant to be, to live the life we are destined to live and make a change and make an impact in this world. So, but before we go what you do now, I am really interested to hear your journey. You first of all, you grew up between like two different continents, right?
Yep.
Canada
Yep.
and Switzerland. So
yes.
Did you have like two different parents or homes, or they were traveling, or what?
Well, they weren't traveling so much as they got divorced. So the early part of my childhood was on the West Coast in Canada, in British Columbia, beautiful part of the world. And then when my parents got divorced, we moved to Switzerland, which was my mother's homeland. And again, another really beautiful part of the world. And I think my journey kind of consists. It's almost like it's a three-part series or a three-part documentary or something like that. Because the first part was kind of, grew up between Canada and Switzerland, and I had I had an idea about what I thought success was, and what I thought I needed to do, and what I thought I should do, and I kind of call that chapter the ego chapter, right? Where I was striving for success and excellence and acceptance, and I ticked all the boxes, right? I had everything I wanted, and nothing at all. So that first chapter, when you tick off all the boxes, like you have your own company, you have your own business, you have your own, the cars you wanted, the travel you wanted, like all the things are there, but then you're feeling empty. I decided that I needed to start another chapter.
You started out in the banking industry. That's where you started checked all your success boxes. And what was the initial thought, or perhaps an event, that giving you the indication, I can't do this any longer, I have to change?
It was very much me hitting a wall. And it was me hitting a wall full of anxiety and depression and panic, and basically my body saying no. My body was telling me to stop, and so were my friends. And so my friends started to help me think about mindfulness and the body-mind connection, and things like spirituality or relaxation techniques. Sabine, I knew nothing about that. I was disconnected. My head and my body were disconnected. But I was kind of forced to go and do something called rebirthing, which is a breathing exercise, a breathing technique. And I had a massive, quote unquote, spiritual experience where at that morning, I saw like 8 or 9 lives, and I was the protagonist. So I came out of that going, oh, wow. I mean, whether you believe it or not, I came out of that experience saying, oh, so I don't have to do it all now. Like, I don't have to get it all now. I don't have to, it kind of was like this release valve, right? That said, what are you doing? Why are you rushing around? What are your priorities? I mean, it really just made me evaluate everything. And I did it within 48 hours. I just said, all right, obviously something has not been working. I was striving for all of the wrong things. I think it's time, you do 10 or 15 years of something, and you think you're successful. You realize maybe you're not, and it's time to pivot. And so I did. I gave everything away I owned, and I moved back to Vancouver, which I thought at the time was closer to nature, closer to my original culture, closer to friends, and just closer to familiarity, I guess, mm-hmm. Right?
So you gave everything away?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, pretty much. I mean, I gave Cartier watches to the person that would help me clean the house. I gave like a mountain of Italian designer clothing to my friends that I knew were going to stay in banking, right? So I'm like, here you go. I brought my cars back to the garage. I moved back to Canada with virtually nothing. I mean, just the kind of the basic essentials in a suitcase.
And did you have an indication? Did you have an idea what you wanted to do? Or did you just take the time to just see what happens? And what happened?
Yeah, I kind of really, because I had been such a control, I don't want to say freak, but because I had been such a so tedious about control in that first chapter of my life, I thought, okay, in this one, I'm at least going to be more gentle with myself. So I did give myself a little bit of time. I did kind of dive into all the self-help things that were out there. At the time, I think Eckhart Tolle's first book came out, The Power of Now, and the movie What the Bleep Do We Know came out. So there was, Candace Pert's Molecules of Emotion. So because I had been so clueless about the universe or spirituality or even well-being, health and mental health. I'd been so clueless before. I decided that I really wanted to dive into all of that. So I kind of just started to absorb it all. And it came to me what I needed to do next, but it wasn't right away.
Right. I mean, it takes time.
Yeah.
And one of the great teachers that I've worked with in the past, she was saying, oftentimes we get the 80-20 rule wrong. We do 80% of doing, 20% just like, with our spirituality and really the manifestation process and whatnot. And she said it's actually the opposite way. We have to work inside on our mind, the majority, and then we can take the action. So what happened next for you?
So in the second chapter, I decided to get into something that resonated more with me, and that was around real estate. And that I love construction, I love design, I love architecture. So I got into international real estate, international destination real estate, and placemaking. So we were building things out of from scratch and creating destinations and creating places that were not there before, which I loved, right? It was much more tangible than banking. You could see people enjoying the places that you had designed and coming to life and in a kind of a very organic way. And I did that for quite a few years in a management consulting role all over the world, and it was amazing. Had the most incredible experiences, but along the way, I wasn't embodying what you were just speaking about. That 80-20 rule. I had read all the books. I mean, I've got stacks of them here and there and everywhere, right? But it was really only until about a couple of years ago that that concept that you just mentioned kind of got into me. So I'm just saying to your listeners and to your audience, you can know it up here, right? You can have all the knowledge, because I did, like, after that incredible experience and then spending 20 years around the world, and really diving into self-discovery, it took another nudge. It almost took like another, when tectonic plates come together and there's an earthquake. I had another earthquake like a year, I guess it's only a year ago, where everything I had learned, I finally started to embody. So what I'm doing now is I'm trying to help people get there faster than me, right? It's like, don't take this much time.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you said that. The self-discovery journey is different for everybody. And sometimes I am thinking to myself, ooh, why didn't I have a coach or a teacher earlier in my life? Right. So I could do all the things that I do now earlier in my life. But we also have to understand that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So you will attract the people that are ready. And we have to honor that. And maybe you do the same thing as a coach. I am a coach and work with people. Yeah. I see, oh my gosh, if they would just do this and that, if they would come to me or work with me, I could help them. But they're not there yet. And we as coaches and leaders and influencers, we have to see that and bless that and let them go in the knowing when they're ready. They're coming either back to you or to someone else.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I agree with you 100%. Certainly in the way that I work, I never want to push somebody in sort of a direction that I think that they should go. But sometimes I can be quite direct, but it's more about accountability, right? It's more about, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm certainly going to remind you that you're playing the victim card right now, or that you've decided to stay in a closed loop, or you're repeating the same stories to yourself. Would you like to consider other stories or other narratives? Or have you seen that you're seeing life through a whole bunch of lenses that are based on past conditioning? So you're absolutely right. I mean, everybody's on their own timeline. Neither of us can say, "Hey, do this and do that because I did it and I know the answer." But I'm certainly up for kind of shouting from the mountaintops that it doesn't have to be like this. So if you are suffering, right, or if you feel stuck, or if you are a little lost, or you want change, I will be your biggest cheerleader, right? So I
Yes.
I agree with you, but that doesn't mean I'm going to sit back and watch every wait.
Oh, absolutely not. No, no, no. That's not what I meant.
Sure.
What I meant, yes, we have to stay on the mountaintops and shout it out.
Right.
But we cannot help everybody, just the ones who are ready.
Sure.
But being in the time that we're living in, having all this technology makes it so much easier to bring ourselves out to the masses. Like, for example, just through this podcast interview, you never know who's listening and is ready and want to move forward, right?
Yeah.
Let me hop in here real quick to share something with you. Have you ever tried to build your own website, start a newsletter, or build a course and charge for it? Have you ever wanted to make money online but are totally confused by all the different systems you need to have? That's why I use Kajabi. Kajabi is the most popular system for online marketers, coaches, thought leaders, and influencers. Kajabi helps online entrepreneurs take off. Over 100,000 of us use Kajabi and have made over $4 billion. Why not be part of it? The best thing is you don't have to figure out tons of systems or crazy technology to start your online business. Kajabi helps you do all of that, and it's all on one platform. That's why I use it. It makes my life so much easier, and I can even earn money while I'm sleeping. You can build your web pages, blogs, and membership sites. You can create offers, checkout pages, and collect money. You can host your videos. You can start your newsletter list, capture emails, start your marketing funnels, all in one place. It makes it fun and easy with awesome tutorials and support. Since I've joined Kajabi from the beginning, I have a special affiliate link that I would like to share with you. A 30-day free trial. So nothing to lose, but everything to gain. Just go to my link that's in the show notes, sabinekvenberg.com/resources, and we will redirect you to the free trial page. So now let's get back to the show.
100%.
It's quite an exciting life that you had. How did you meet, well, for example, Elton John?
I was confronted with a project that was quite complex in that it was situated the Pacific Ocean. It was in Bora Bora. It was a major brand. They had never done this type of thing before, and the developer at the time didn't want any marketing done. So it was all supposed to be relationship marketing, and nobody knew how to do it. Nobody knew how to connect to the audience that we thought would resonate with that particular project and that particular development. And I had an amazing coach. Her name was Sandra Ferber, who taught me the power of manifestation. Then that's when I began to believe that I'm only 1 or 2 or 3 degrees of separation away from the person or the people that I want to connect to. So I just did a mind map. I said, well, I think you might like this, and I think that person would belong, and I think this person would belong. And I did some research about, where they travel, where they he was on my target list. I got calls from Oprah's office. I never spoke to her directly, but I did get calls from the office. And I mind mapped it, and I basically it was like Sherlock Holmes marketing. I'm like, this is the person that I want to connect to. So what are the 3 dots that I need to get to connect to that person, or to speak to that person, or to get in front of them? And Elton John was one of those people that I got to speak to, and Hillary Clinton was the same, and then later on. Later on, people just kind of started to appear, because I was in I was in the super yacht industry for a while, and I was in kind of these places that kind of caliber of individual. Not that they're better or worse, but I happened to meet them. But it just really confirmed in me the power that you and I and we all have, and your audience has, to. I think if you can visualize it, you can do it, so those sorts of things that began to happen just, and it got a little bit crazy. I mean, playing with it a little bit, and it's, meeting, Paris Hilton and Nikki Hilton, and, now it's kind of funny. It's like, but at the time they were, famous, and, but that's not, I think what's really important is this idea of you can do it. If you can believe it, you can build it, you can create it, again, by working with people that will help you deconstruct those narratives, or maybe help you deconstruct the self-limiting beliefs.
Yeah, and I like what you said regarding, you just have to visualize that. Well, first comes the thought, of course, but thoughts become things. And when we have that thought about something, and you did the mind mapping, and you had that thought, how can I get the right people to that place? Then, the vision come up, and you are able to go to the next step, and then the universe conspires to you, and it will happen, because you have that belief and the manifestation process in place. So that's pretty powerful.
But what I think is really important also to kind of emphasize, Sabine, is it's not about simply kind of the motivational picture on the wall, right? Or a picture of a Ferrari, or whatever. You have to really kind of paint a really complete picture, right? Like, I've got a vision board over here that has, it's got everything in it, from the people I want to work with, the way I want to behave, the podcasting I want to do, some books, and some people. Like, it's got everything. My advice to your readers is, don't just make it a picture on a wall. Design the life, right? And then there's tools about goal setting and breaking that down into bite-sized chunks, right? Because when you bite it into bite-sized chunks, you're not just looking at the vision that you want and going, oh, I don't have it. You're getting there little piece by piece. I think that's really important.
Absolutely. And what you said is so true. You have to have an action plan that is attached to your vision. Just visualizing and dreaming about it, it's not enough. It's the start, but then you have to take measurable actions, and you can only take it once you don't need to know the how yet, but you want to have your end goal, and then you just start kind of engineering it backwards and say, okay, what do I need to do? So the first thing would be this. I don't know how yet, but let me figure it out. And the answers will come, because you will take the right action steps.
That's right. And I think also, together with action, it's also really important that action is aligned with feeling and energy and your sort of vibration that's going on. Because I don't know about you, but I speak with a lot of people that, on the surface, they might be telling themselves the positive sort of prosperity story, but then just beneath the surface, there's a big vat of kind of negativity and self-limiting beliefs and old conditioning and habits, etc., etc. So action, I think, really needs to align with energy. And I often use this sort of metaphor of, what radio station do you want to be on today, right? Like what frequency do you want to be on? Because we get up in the morning and we decide. It's like, what am I tuning into today? Am I tuning into, joy and abundance and creation and the universe? Or am I turning into, a depressive state, or I'm just telling myself another story? So,
Yeah. And that's why coaches are so important, to help the individual to see it and remind them and whatnot. Yeah. Colin, tell me, did you have a time in your life where you really were like, this is it? You were down, had despair or challenges, and you had a moment where you realized, I have to change something to move forward with my life, and then went through that transition?
Absolutely. It was certainly during the pandemic, when we lived in Italy, we lived in Tuscany. And by every measure, it was a beautiful, charming, romantic kind of lifestyle. But during the pandemic, everything was so isolated that I just basically sat around with my cheap Tuscan wine, drinking too much and kind of numbing the pain of isolation and lack of connection and lower business and everything like that. And I was just sitting in the garden looking out over Lucca, and something said to me that it was time for change again. When I was 30 or 35, I hit that first wall and decided to make a pivot and a change. And the same thing happened here. It wasn't a spiritual awakening. It was enough of the alcohol, enough of the coping mechanisms, and it's time for another pivot. And the pivot was to come home to Canada and to come home to myself.
Yeah. That's beautiful what you just said, to come home to yourself, because at the end, that's what it is. And I believe many of our listeners can kind of, one way to relate to that, what you just shared during that time, the isolation. Yeah, we ate too much, we drank too much, and hopefully that by now everybody got on with their lives, and in some cases even got into a new profession, started their own business. And this is the same thing that you did. If people want to get in touch with you, maybe they feel that you could possibly help them, how can they do that?
Sure, just run to my website, collinkingsmill.com, or you can catch me on Instagram, LinkedIn as well. I do a weekly newsletter on LinkedIn. So I love conversations and I love writing. So that's where you'll find me.
Colin, thank you so much for sharing your story, and I wish you the very best and much success on your new chapter in life.
Thank you so much, Sabine.
That was my interview, and if you enjoyed it, give us a 5-star review, leave a comment, and share it with your friends. Thanks for listening. Until I see you again, always remember, serve from the heart, follow your passion, and live the life you imagine.